Kenny Smith, who is the chairman of the Homeland Party. So, Kenny, please come up here, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you very much, folks. It's an absolute privilege to be here in Norway, and I'd like to thank Geir and his incredibly professional and dedicated team. I arrived yesterday, and the self-sacrifice that comes from the team is absolutely incredible. It's a credit to you all. And this is the first remigration conference to take place in Scandinavia. And it is something that is starting to resonate all around Europe. It's actually the third remigration conference I've attended this year. I was in Milan, in the Mediterranean, in Italy earlier this year, and that was a fantastic conference and had the backing of politicians from Lega. I am the chairman of Homeland Party, and we organised the first ever remigration conference in Europe in Born. We did actually hope to have Mr. Camus come and speak, but the tyrannical Labour government banned him from coming to the country, so it was fantastic to finally meet him here and hear him speak. But I'm also living proof that a humane policy of remigration can happen. Because I'm born and bred on the Isle of Lewis in the Outer Hebrides, that was ruled for 200 years, possibly by some of your ancestors. And without the uses of boarding passes or modern technology, the Vikings returned back to Norway peacefully, had a successful time building your own nation until recent times, and we Celts and Picts had the same in Lewis. So remigration can actually happen. And my speech today is going to be, I think, a little different. You know, we have to sell remigration as something positive to the public. They don't understand it. Many people try and paint it as something that means mass deportations, kicking doors in, upsetting families. That's not what remigration is. I'm going to look a little inwards and to talk about what we as people have to do. And like I said earlier, I've been incredibly impressed by the Norway Democrats. You guys are already there. The professionalism, quality, self-sacrifice, it's all going already. So I'm not generally preaching to the people in this room. I think it'll be more for the people from the media at the back who distort everything we say, as Rebecca said, and also the people who will watch this back on social media afterwards and want to get involved in the struggle. So, diversity is not a strength. Tolerance is not a virtue. In-group preference is not discrimination. These are maxims that I and many other people live by. They're easy to grasp when we look at external politics. We say diversity is not a strength because it leads to weak social cohesion, low trust, and as we've heard, higher crime. We say tolerance is not a virtue because you should not tolerate things that harm you, your family, or your people. We say in-group preference is not discrimination because there is nothing wrong with loving your own or putting them first. It's normal, it's natural. What is harder for some, though, is recognizing that these maxims apply to internal politics as well. It is important to bring in people from a range of professional backgrounds with different skills and from all parts of your country. It is not good to onboard those with wildly divergent views that pull in opposite directions. That only creates discord and confuses the public. Teamwork requires tolerating individual flaws and mannerisms, even a little maverick thinking sometimes on the less important issues. It cannot tolerate the undisciplined and the foolish, who embarrass parties in public and put other people off from joining the struggle. Likewise, in-group preference within a movement means preferring those who are capable and reliable, who think strategically, who know our history and can see the long game. Giving priority to people who meet that standard is not discrimination or gatekeeping. It is basic common sense, and it is how serious organisations win. Now, I'm sure you guys all know what a liberal snowflake is. Yep, you've heard that expression. Well, I'm increasingly concerned by what one of my colleagues calls the right-wing snowflake. And that's a person who says edgy things to look transgressive, yet is so petty, emotional and self-absorbed that they cannot work for the collective good. They cannot put the movement or a party first. And I'm sure you've heard also the phrase, this is business, not personal. Well, it applies to politics too. Most things political movements do are political, not personal. I often hear patriots say, the left doesn't eat itself the way the right does. And if you look to the left, you can see that's true. Whether it's trade unions, political parties or activist groups, they mainly settle their problems in-house. Occasionally they do have public spats, but it's usually kept on the down low. They live and breathe their Marxist lunacy, but they put their cause first and their feelings second. Usually, if they can't resolve their differences, they part ways quietly rather than attack each other in the public domain, because they know public drama harms the wider movement. And unless you read their in-house publications, which are very dry and boring, you'll rarely hear about these fallouts. But if you look to our side, how often do you see the ridiculous spectacle of a supposedly grown man not having it out in person, not picking up the phone, going silent and then posting what he wants to say to that other person online, in public, in front of supporters, the media, the enemy and everybody in between? These people have no professionalism. They do not act like serious political activists, but like the subject of women's drama magazines. I don't know if you guys got them in Scandinavia, but in the UK they're hard going. Not that I read them often, mind you. But these people cannot work as a team because it is always about their feelings. If you tell them they are wrong, they take it as a personal slight. Offer calm, wise counsel, and again they just hear a telling off. Hold a meeting, invite debate, and they refuse the discussion. In the days that follow, they'll dump a massive wall of text in chat groups to avoid direct conversation, and they'll grow even saltier when you say, we can fix this, but let's get together and have a chat. And before too long, they won't even talk to you directly at all. They'll only post their feelings online, vent to the world, and thereby allow the hostile media and political opponents to make capital out of it that damages the movement as a whole and not their intended targets. They think that because a handful of anonymous accounts cheer them on, the world's with them. But it never occurs to them that some of those accounts that they put so much stock in may actually be the Reds, may actually be the state. And at that point, they actually become the proverbial useful idiots themselves. They have no patience, no discipline, no political savvy. They think they can shout the odds and tell others what to do from the sidelines when they've never even tried to build anything worthwhile themselves. I ask you, have these guys ever studied our nation's political history, our social history? Do they know what has worked in the past? Have they seen what has failed before? Do they have any understanding of the world around them? Recently, there's even been situations where people who have fled my home nation, gone to live elsewhere, are still telling us what we should be doing in our own country. It's madness. And they only associate with each other. They do not build functional relationship beyond their own narrow views. They don't know their neighbours, the people on the street, the lads at the gym, the regulars at the local pub. They lose touch with the hopes and dreams and aspirations, the concerns and dislikes of normal people. So how the hell can they ever hope to win them over? If you live in an online echo chamber, people who are too inexperienced to know what's right and to recognise who the bad actors are, they've got to realise the world doesn't revolve around their feelings. And quite frankly, I've got no tolerance for them. One of the worst things that these snowflakes do is take something you say carefully and turn it into an absolute. For example, I've said many times, the internet is not be all and end all. The internet is not the only thing that exists. We also need to win on the ground. They take that and they turn it into, you're saying the internet doesn't matter at all. You're rejecting the internet altogether. I've never said that. No professional would. I basically said every year the internet is important. It is the information superhighway after all, and much would not be possible without it. But we have to acknowledge that it is not the whole battleground. It is only part of a wider campaign. But with them, everything has to be extreme, everything has to be one or the other. There's no option for in between. And you can't run an organisation, business or political, with people that can't listen, can't compromise, and can't put such things aside. Some believe that simply saying things louder will make people see the light. There's old heads in here like me. If that went through, we'd have won already, because we've been hollering and screaming about this for decades. Being right is not enough. Being edgy online is not enough. You need to know who you are. You need to know who our people are, what they like and what they dislike. We have to meet the people where they are, in our communities, and explain to them what we mean. Tell them what remigration means, in a way they can absorb, way they can understand and feel good about it. Our words must be rooted not in hate, but in love for our own, and a genuine desire to protect our own people. This does not mean compromising principles. There is truth in build it and they will come. But what we build must rest on solid foundations, not on emotion. It must be attractive, not isolationist or gatekeeping. We cannot tolerate the inept, the foolish, the narcissistic who push the public away. They make decent people think twice about joining a party, a movement, or agreeing with our policy. At the Homeland Party, we put a lot of effort in to explain to the public what remigration means. We take care to emphasise that it is a humane policy that benefits our people and our homeland, and also the people and nations where these migrants are returning to. European people are compassionate by nature. We have fallen victim to cultural erasure and deliberate replacement migration because our good nature has been taken advantage of. And we must appeal to that silent majority, not an overly online minority, by promoting love, not hate. And I know this is a problem across the continent. I speak to leaders and actors from political parties all over Europe. And even the bigger parties who are winning mass support have these dramas. I know the AfD, for example, face the same issue. People who claim to be on their side, constantly sniping, criticising, over-analysing a photo or a statement, maybe from one individual who said something they thought not quite right. And then they use that one thing to attack the whole party, the whole movement, the whole concept. The unprofessional and ill-disciplined like to think the world works like this. Everything you are is to them based on the last thing said online about you. Not the body of work that you've built up over years, not what you deliver in speeches like this, not even in anything set out in proper policy. They have short attention spans. And the tragedy is that, certainly in the UK, our people have become so used to being disappointed and even betrayed by every kind of grifting and self-serving politician. As soon as something new arrives, they say there is no point. And when it gains traction, they will start looking for flaws and become overcritical, taking the smallest thing that has happened and saying, it's over, it's finished, they've cucked, and a whole range of other nonsense. Half the time these things are based on half-truths and rumours and that have been passed around their echo chambers. And it's really, sadly, because people dare not to hope, think the situation has become so bad. And I honestly, I have no problem with what I've just said offends people. If you have, I really don't care. Go away, quiet, shut up. I'm not listening to that bleating anymore. But if you do feel troubled by what I've said, I would say have a look around at what you're doing. Think about the people around you. Are they positive people? Are they helping the movement? Or are they just making noise and attacking those who do positive things? My colleagues and I do not care if we upset a few people by delivering home truths. We sweat out the bad elements, much like you Scandinavians in your saunas. We go in, we sweat it out, and we come out healthier and brighter for it. And something else I've been hearing recently in places like X and social media, people declaring that the battle for remigration has already been won. It's absolute nonsense, absolute nonsense. In their echo chamber, they're all talking about remigration. They see lots of people doing it on X, target. But go out onto the streets, into the communities, amongst ordinary people. Where's the progress? It's not there yet. This battle for remigration has only just begun, and we shouldn't be complacent about it. You'll find people have never heard of the concept, and you have to explain to them. And that is why discipline and professionalism is critical in all that we do going forward. We want to win all across Europe. And we must be the best that we can be so that people can see we have what it takes to deliver. The Homeland Party is very young. We've only really just getting underway, and it's going to take time. But we need parties like ours in every European country to match the significant progress being made in places like Germany and Italy and Austria. In the UK, our battle's a little difficult. We have Nigel Farage's Reform masquerading as an anti-immigration party. They oppose remigration. So that anti-immigration rhetoric is simply pointless noise. They recently won power across England in local elections, and they promised to stop housing asylum seekers if they won control of any of these county councils. Have they made any progress since May in any of these places? No, they've not. And it's not just because it's more of a difficult political thing to do, as some people are trying to make excuses. It's not that at all. It's because they do not have the will to do it. And I seriously question whether the guys at the top of Reform have the will or the stamina to do it anyway. The people who run that party say demographics do not matter. Remigration is a political impossibility. And they also think that men dressed as women should be allowed in women's prisons. So nobody should really be taking anything they say seriously at all. And there's all sorts of pressure groups now popping up in response to Reform and a rebellion against the fact that they don't want to address demographic change. And I ask those people there, who are you pressurising? To me, it seems that they are only appealing to this weak half measure that's Reform or the long discredited Conservative Party. And these parties might change what they say depending on the environment and the room they're in, but they will never actually change what they do. 14 years of Tory power proved that. These first few months of Reform Party power has proved that they won't do that. I'm 53, called Gen Xers. People have been trying to change the Conservative Party in all these 35 years of my political activism, and it's never happened. It's not going to happen. And of course, you can't pressurise the rest of the establishment into change either, because they're the ones doing the bad things and they don't care. They just don't care. The only way we can do anything, the only way we can implement remigration is by gaining power for ourselves. We cannot rely on others who do not think like us. We, the patriots, the nationalists, we have to embrace electoral politics. And that's why we created the Homeland Party. And you can only win an election through community politics. You have to have people in the area supporting you and voting for you. Without that, you gain no power, no control, and you can do absolutely nothing to change the things you don't like. Shouting online does not change the situation. Carving out a small audience, even if that audience delivers 1 million impressions, does not change the situation. It is just noise. In fact, it's even worse than that. Because the other pitfall I witness on a regular basis from the regular online crowd is a fondness for defeatism. Those who tell us we have already lost and the collapse is inevitable. Again, I've heard that old chestnut for 35 years. And I believe it's an excuse for inaction. It's an excuse for being bold and brave, for attempting to resist and rebuild. It's a refusal to stand tall and look forward, to be motivated not by anger and anguish, but by ambition and the vision of just how good it really could be. We're not doing the political route because it's easy. In fact, it's far from that. We're doing it because it must be done. And it's certainly bigger than any one man or any small group of people combined. It has to have everybody on board, driving forward together. Only parties like the Homeland Party have the will and the courage to implement the policies that will end mass immigration, deport the illegals, deport the criminals, and the subversives. Only parties like ours, the Norway Democrats, have the will and the courage, as I said, to start a humane programme of remigration that reverses demographic replacement and who'll do it for all the peoples across Europe, that ends the cultural erasure of our identity and all that we hold dear. No half-measure conservatism will ever do that. We can only win through if those who hear my words get involved and take personal contribution to the struggle, not just stand on the sidelines. People have to take responsibility for the future of our own homelands. Nothing else will do. You have to do what you can. Put aside the bullshit, the irrelevance, and do something constructive. We can only win if you're on board. We can only win if people are playing smart, doing real politics, wearing the suit and tie, engaging in community politics, being measured, disciplined, and professional. I look across the continent and I see the quality of the people in this room. There are folk across Europe who are winning and making remigration the central pillar of their effort, and it is resonating because they are being disciplined and professional. The rest of us, and I include myself in this, we must professionalise. We must put away all the childish and thuggish antics that have held us back for decades, and we must seek to win public support so we can win power and control to make the change and save our people. If we are to win in our home countries and for Europe as a whole, it has to be done by men and women who sacrifice, work tirelessly, put differences aside, dress the part, mind their words, speak to the public, and not just to each other. And this is where our party stands, the Homeland Party. We give our people discipline and create a credible vehicle for them. We organise locally, serve our communities, train our officers and candidates, and hold ourselves to standards that earn respect. We speak plainly about mass immigration and remigration, the cost of living, the public collapse in trust, and the assault on family life. We defend women and children, restore true justice, and insist on secure borders and safer streets. We stand for the Indigenous people of these islands who have not just been ignored and dismissed, but vilified and abused. I say to those listening to join us, stand tall. Take responsibility for the future of your nation. Wishful thinking will change nothing. Only embracing the struggle, the hard road, the long vision will deliver remigration. If you are not for remigration, you are part of the problem. Only remigration can save Europe and the European people from the existential threat we face. Please make remigration the focus of your work from this day until we win. Thank you.